I want to talk about 1954 for a few minutes. I know most of you don't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on back then. I wasn't born until 1971. So long time ago. What was some of the thinking when it came to athletics and when it came to how people thought about running on the track? Back in 1954, the 4 minute mile had never been broken. They said it was impossible. Doctors came out and said it's not possible for a human being to keep up that level of physical exertion for that long. And as a matter of fact, if somebody did do that and keep up that level for 4 minutes, once they hit the finish line, their heart could not take that level of intensity, that you would die. It's not possible. It's not physically possible. And so that was the thinking. And so most people said, well, if that's the case, I'm not going to even try. What's the sense of trying if it's not possible? In May 6, 1954, at 25, Roger Bannister came along and did something that all of the experts said, and the doctors said it was not possible. It was impossible. He crossed the finish line at 3 minutes, 59 seconds, and 4/10 of a second. And afterward, he didn't die. Matter of fact, he lived to be 88. How was it done? There's a story there if you want to spend the time. I'll link the video to him doing that. I'll show it here in a minute. Rogers Bannister's run, not the fateful day, but I'll put that link in the description field. There were three people behind the scenes that don't get talked about. Two of his friends helped set a pace, and a trainer, a coach. He ran in second position for 3.5 laps. Chris Brasher ran lead for 2 laps, and then Chris Chataway the other lap and a half, and Franz Stamfel was his trainer. So these three men helped Bannister do what he did. And I think it's very important as you see how he finished the race. He's completely exhausted, on the borderline of passing out, probably the last map when he started. It looked like he started sprinting last 250 yards. We have to watch as Brasher falls away. He did his part in the first couple laps. Chataway takes his place in lead, and then Bannister comes that last half lap and starts sprinting to the finish. It's an amazing story, amazing, so much so that I would like to share a part of that video. Like I say, I will put the link in the description field so you can watch it in its entirety and even do some research on what it took of a team effort to have this happen.
That runs just under 4 minutes. Everything went to plan. Chris Brasher, with whom Bannister had been training, took the lead. Bannister lay second, and Chataway was coming up into third place. 150 yards gone, and it's Brasher first, Bannister second, Chataway third. That was the way the three of them had planned it. Brasher to set the pace at first, Chataway to take over later. The end of the second lap and half a mile gone. Time 1 minute 58.2 seconds. Still ahead of the clock. But there was another half mile to go. Could they keep up the pace? 1,100 yards gone, and Chataway starts to spurt ahead. He overtakes Bannister and then Brasher, and the gallant Brasher, having achieved his selfless pacemaking task, drops behind. Now it's Chataway leading, Bannister second.
It's like stages of a rocket. The first two stages are complete. Here in a minute, Bannister's going to take the lead, do his part.
The three-quarter-mile mark and the time, 3 minutes, 0.5 seconds. Bannister, still in second place, would have to do his final lap almost as fast as his first one to beat the 4-minute mile. .250 yards to go, and Bannister takes over. Watch his giant stride take him to the front as he races the last lung-bursting furlong to the finishing post. This was it, the final effort against the seconds that have kept him and many others from the 4-minute mile. The tape is broken, and so is the record athletes have long been dreaming about. But at first, Bannister knows little about it. He stumbles into the arms of his coach, completely exhausted by his magnificent effort.
There's his coach on the left.
And that's how Roger Bannister, the 25-year-old medical student.
And surprisingly, he didn't need medical assistance after that. I think he probably felt like he wanted to die. But you have had a chance to see his coach on the left, Frank Stample. Amazing team effort. Something impossible was done, leaving an example to others. Matter of fact, I'd like to share with you a picture of these four men. So here they are. The man on the left is Chris Brasher right here, followed by Roger Bannister, his coach, Franz Stamfel, and Chris Chataway. Amazing accomplishment, and each of them played their part to perfection, doing something that everyone said was not possible. He left nothing on the table. He was redlining his body the whole time. You know, so as young men, how are impossible things done? You know, you break it down. Can I run one lap in a minute? But in addition to the physical part, you have to have, you're following great examples. You've got people helping, trainers. And then when it's your turn, after 3.5 laps, you can surge ahead and do things that have never been done before. Could Roger Bannister have broken that barrier without his friends, his two training friends, and his coach? Matter of fact, Chris Chartaway is quoted by saying, without Stamfel's efforts, his coach's efforts, Bannister would not have broken the 4-minute mile when he did. That his rival, who was Australian John Landy, would have done that. And he was preparing in Finland to do it, and he would have been the first. And about a month or two later, he did end up breaking Bannister's record. But without his coach, he would not have been able to do it. Without the two other men that were setting a pace for a majority of the race, he would not have been able to do it. And since then, the power of an example, since that barrier was broken, 1,755 athletes have broken that record or have come in less than 4 minutes. The current world record stands at 3 minutes 43 seconds, and that was set back in July of 1999. And the youngest person to it was a young man by the name of Jacob. I don't know how to say his last name. You can look it up. Of Norway, and he crossed the finish line in 3 minutes 58 seconds at the age of 16. You know, my oldest son loved to run the track, and I think he developed athlete's asthma because of it. But it was just a miserable grind to push your body that hard. And one day I tried to keep up, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna run the first couple hundred yards with you, help pace you." Well, that didn't last very long. Um, that was impossible by me because I wasn't training that way. So, how are barriers broken? By the power of examples. We underestimate how crucial examples are and how powerful they are. We underestimate how powerful these examples are. People that are first, people at the tip of the spear. You know, examples make it easier for others who come behind to do the same or better. You know, it's already been done. People are like, hey, if Roger could do it, then I can do it too. They even actually have a phrase now that emphasizes that. It's called the Roger Bannister effect. And in effect, it says, it refers to a mental shift that occurs when someone breaks a barrier that was previously thought to be unachievable. The Bannister effect is based on the idea that our limitations are only are in our minds. When someone breaks a barrier, it demonstrates to others that what was once thought as impossible is possible. This can lead to a mindset shift that makes others seemingly impossible goals achievable. You know, his example made it easier for others to do the same. And examples are everywhere. You don't have to be a track athlete, a superstar. Uh, they're everywhere. As fathers, we set examples for our children. You know, if I become financially successful, it's easier for my kids to do so. If I get up early in the morning, it's easier for my children to do the same. If I eat right, have a good diet, I stay physically fit, I'm consistently working out, staying fit, it's easier for my kids, for my children to do the same. Let's say you're a father and you have a phone and you have a computer that has no filters and you're constantly on the road for business, flying, going to hotels, doing business outside of your home, oh, far, far away from friends and family, and you're still able to keep your blinders on and not get off track by pornography or women, how much easier do you make it for your kids who are sheltered in your home to stay away from porn? I can do it. It's harder for me. I'm in these a lot of times very difficult situations where people are drinking or people doing things I don't agree with, and I can withdraw myself. I'll spend the afternoon in a hotel room doing productive things. How many fathers can say, look at what your mother and I have done. Look at the difficulties we've been through, and we do not use, or I do not use prescription drugs or regular drugs. I do not use alcohol to get through these difficulties. That's the example you have. It can be done. In Utah, there's a big one. I can manage my daily stress in life by not taking prescription drugs. I have mental stability, and here's how I do it. We set that example. The power of example is so great. We can make lives easier because of your example, or you can make it harder for others. Make people's lives easier. Another huge one, this thought that something is impossible. Can you live every moment of your life like Jesus did? Is it possible to stop sinning? Most say it is not possible to stop sinning. Well, Jesus did it. Others have done it. Others living today, right now, have done it. Most will say, well, yeah, Jesus, he was an exception to the rule because he was, part God. Actually, he did it with a much heavier load than we're asked to do it. Have we been asked to carry everyone's sins and pains and still not sinned with that heavy burden? It's like he ran the perfect 3-minute mile at 26,000 feet where there's no air. Have you ever tried to run at high altitudes? We like to go camping. Sometimes we, at 10,000 feet, we'll go hiking, and I can feel a huge difference versus running at sea level or hiking. You must live without sin in this life to dwell in God's presence again. It's not optional. But you don't have to do it alone. You have a Brasher and a Chataway and a Stampful, all setting a pace and giving you direction. God is by your side. Jesus is there. His Spirit is there. It can be done. You can do it. You can overcome huge obstacles and barriers in your life. The example has been set. Cross the finish line of life like Bannister did, totally wiped out, spent, giving everything you have. God will make up the difference.